are now listening to Sanity at the Movies, Avengers Edition. Hey everybody, welcome to Sanity at the Movies. I'm your humble and obedient host, Nathan Albertson. We've got Pastor Jacob Menzel over there. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
You ready for a new podcast?
Man, I've been waiting for a new podcast.
Yeah, what the world needs, if the world needs one thing, it's more podcasts, and we're here to provide them as always.
Not just more podcasts, more Warhorn Media podcasts.
And more podcasts about movies. The world doesn't have
podcasts
enough.
featuring you and me.
Yeah.
And me, maybe.
Who said that?
Hey, I don't know what I am on this podcast.
Well, I'll tell you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Chastain.
Hey.
From the Bookening fame.
Yeah, that's right. Who has the microphone right now?
You are going to be
in
on
his
this.
strong, able hands.
He's got two hands on the microphone.
He's got two hands.
Not giving it over to
lean in
whatever
and get a word
may
in.
be sitting to my right.
All right, Brandon Chastain. You're the scholar who's the baller of reading. Some people call you Fatso.
Hey,
I don't support it. Other
maybe
people,
just you. Maybe
other people
just,
call you Larjo.
maybe just you and Jake. Maybe.
Lardo? Is that what you said?
Hey,
Larjo.
you can keep your bearded mouth shut.
All right, so here's the deal. Sanity at the Movies is a podcast featuring me as the host, Jake as the other guy, what would we call Jake?
The other guy.
Yeah, but you're not unimportant. Other guy sounds a little dismissive.
No,
it
no.
features me, Nathan Albertson. I'm your
It
host.
features two friends and...
two friends and other friends. Now, one of those friends,
Hey, wait.
he's Brandon Chastain of the Bookening.
Yeah,
two best
hey.
friends and then other friend.
Right.
Other friends. Hey, I'm
I'm
quitting the Bookening, guys.
Please don't quit the Bookening, Brandon. We
Well,
really need
you
you.
want to reword this then?
All right.
That's okay. We'll be fine without you.
Whoa.
No, Brandon.
Good luck with context.
Listen to me. Listen to these words.
We'll
we
just
need you,
forget
Larjo. But I want to introduce our other little friend. Hi, Ben.
He has to take the microphone from me first.
Yeah, no.
Hi, Nathan.
Hey, Benjamin Solzer.
Yeah, surprisingly easy to take the microphone from Bannon over here.
From my large and able hands.
From your large and able hands. Not able to stop me.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm doing good, Nathan.
Hey, I'm so glad to hear it. Ben, you are going to also appear on this podcast with us, right? Because you're
I
a
am.
stalwart, one of me and Jake's best friends, and you're going to talk about movies with us, right?
I'm going to do it.
Ben, what's your favorite movie?
Uh-oh. It's a Wonderful Life.
Is it? Would you really say that?
I think I would.
Ben, if we wanted to hear your thoughts on It's a Wonderful Life, where would we go?
You would go to the Sound of Sanity archives, Nathan, and you would dig up our old Sanity at the Movies, It's a Wonderful Life episode.
Right, which this podcast is actually a spin-off. We had so much fun talking about movies that we decided to create a podcast where me and Jake talk about movies with our fun friends who are funnier, smarter, and more godly than you, the listener. And those
but not
friends...
me and Nathan.
No, but definitely than you, the listener. Those friends will mostly, I think, comprise... I think those friends will mostly comprise Benjamin Solzer from original Sound of Sanity Classic, Sanity Vanilla fame, and, of course, our oldest podcasting friend,
Hey,
Larjo.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
That's because they reserved Fatso for you.
But today, only, it's like Highlander, only one of you.
What's his nerd?
Brandon, what are your qualifications to talk about Avengers Endgame with me and Jake?
I liked it. I saw it twice.
All right.
What are your qualifications?
Ben,
Bearded one.
I don't really, I've seen a lot of Avengers movies, but I haven't seen Endgame, so I'm not qualified to talk with you guys tonight, really.
Sounds like he doesn't deserve the mic, Nathan.
all right. Well,
Yep.
we will use the magic of podcasting sound effect to make him...
Snap.
Oh, yeah. Ben sneaking out. Thank you.
Oh, man, his ashy dust is on my lips. That's gross.
All right, guys, let's talk about Avengers Endgame. Now, just to tell people a little bit more what this podcast is going to be, this podcast, we will come out every other week. That's my plan. We will generally tackle a movie, but we may also do other things. We may actually also talk about trends in larger pop culture. What else might we do, Jake?
We might deal with some shows, TV shows. if you want to call them TV shows anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's all...
So we're gonna talk about all kinds of visual media that we've seen, and we're gonna talk about the moral of it. Movies is going to be the heart of it. That's why we call it Sanity at the Movies. But we're also going to talk about, big picture stuff, where things are headed.
Yeah, I guess the point is
future of film and TV and entertainment. We're going to dissect some bad takes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I dare say.
As you may remember from our Sound of Sanity podcast, we like to dissect bad takes. I dare say. Jake dare said, I dare say.
Both dare said.
And Brennan's here. He's our good friend from the Bookening Fun Literature podcast.
Better friend. Am I the only one who was weirded out by Spider-Man's ashes being all over Iron Man's lips in Infinity War?
I never noticed that.
It's gross. But those are his ashes on Spider-Man's lips. He ate Spider-Man. Iron Man's lips.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first.
Guys, so point is, not every episode is going to be a straight up, we tackle one movie, we talk about it, review it. In that sense, it won't be like our other podcast that we do with Brandon the Bookening, but a lot of episodes may be like that. But we reserve the right to do other kinds of things, but it'll all be kind of related to visual media, right, Jake?
That's right.
Today, before us is Avengers Endgame.
Yep.
The 22nd or 23rd or whatever it is, movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guys, let's talk about Endgame.
Let's do it.
So we all like the MCU well enough.
Yeah.
I'm hit and miss on stuff. I mean...
I like it all, more or less.
Dark World. Captain Marvel.
Maybe the literal worst.
That is the worst.
And she had some of the worst parts of this movie, too.
Yeah, no, she was terrible.
Yeah.
I was really worried there for a moment they were going to do something stupid with her.
Brie Larson is a terrible she may not be a terrible actress, I don't know, but it's terrible casting at least.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to have much respect for the genre. She does have, the only thing she really has respect for is the fact that it gives her a platform to share her intriguing opinions and views. All right, guys, well, Infinity War was good. We like the Marvel things. We probably don't like the DC things. I think we fall fairly in the camp of normal people. Like most people probably feel about the way that we feel, wouldn't you say? Is there anything unique about...
Well, you said Infinity War was good. I didn't really like it that much, but...
Well, I didn't like it at the time, but I like it now.
Yeah, okay, fine. I like it now, too.
You didn't like it when you first saw it?
I was disappointed by the ending because it was so obviously and transparently a cheat, but...
I guess I was more okay with the ending than you guys were.
I mean, to walk, like, we're supposed to be on this cliffhanger, like, they're not gonna, like, oh no, they killed T'Challa in Spider-Man. No, they didn't.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
I just thought that killing those two characters in particular sort of ruined some of the magic, the ability to suspend disbelief that they weren't going to win and bring everybody back.
No, yeah, of course they were. And it was those two in particular. If they just killed the other people, it would have been fine. But they killed those two, and it's like, commercially speaking, there's no way. They're not killing Spider-Man. They've already announced another Spider-Man movie. They're not killing T'Challa. Black Panther was literally playing a theater over from Infinity War when we saw it.
It was still in theaters because it was so big.
Yeah, it was huge. And I mean, I guess maybe you could argue that Okoye will wear the Black Panther, but come on, let's be honest. But everything leading up to that was pretty good. Okay, here's a thought to get us going. I would say Infinity War in and of itself, apart from context, is a better movie than Endgame. True or false?
True.
I would say true to that.
Better humor, better action. It has a story. I mean, Endgame is just like a collection of scenes in search of...
It's a lot of really good moments.
Yeah. Endgame is a lot of really good moments. Also, some pretty lame moments, as I'm sure we'll talk about. Infinity War actually cuts between the different sets of characters really nicely, gives them all interesting missions. It's actually...
It holds together a lot better.
Fairly legit. I like Endgame.
You mean Infinity War?
No, sorry. Yeah, Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War holds together just fine.
I think...
Even to the end when you get the snap.
Yep.
If you don't account for the fact that the other characters are going to have to come back. Thanos is one of the most intriguing villains.
Maybe one of the only.
Yeah, at least in the MCU.
Outside of Loki.
I would say Phase 3 had some good villains. Vulture, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell is a good villain.
But Marvel has historically had some really terrible villains, as everyone knows.
Yes.
Well, Endgame, guys. What'd you think? We're just gonna. This is full spoilers. People, if you haven't seen Endgame, come back. I mean, if you just want our shorthand opinion, it was fine. Whatever, we liked it.
It was fine.
It was good. It was a good movie.
You should see it. If you don't like superhero movies, don't see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't transcend the genre, I wouldn't say, or transcend the MCU or anything like that. It's if this is your first time in a while, this isn't a good first time in a while.
Yeah.
But
if you're wondering what the hype's all about, it really is about 11 years and 20 some movies.
Yeah, it's about legacy. It's about nostalgia. It's about kids that were 10 when the first one, Iron Man, came out and have grown up with this stuff.
Yep.
It's about that kind of thing.
And so in that light, the best way I've come to terms with this movie is I look at each character's plot line.
Mm-hmm.
And do I find the movie satisfying for that plot line? Black Widow, yes. Iron Man, yes. The whole
Nebula, yes.
Yes. Nebula, definitely.
Nebula,
yes.
fantastic, yeah.
Hawkeye, for the most part, yes. For the most part. There are problems with his storyline, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that he's just so casually hugs his children after murdering thousands of people with a samurai sword.
Yep.
You're not supposed to really think too much about that.
Nope, you're never supposed to think.
Yeah, except for the fact that it gives Black Widow's death some weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost think that the best thing to do is to just talk character by character through their storylines.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of...
All right, Iron Man, great.
Yeah, fantastic. You can't ask for a better ending to Iron Man.
You know, one of the interesting things about Iron Man, I think, is he's one of the few characters, I think there are exactly 2 characters from the original 6 Avengers who survived that have moved on from the snap. It's him and Hulk.
Right.
Are the only 2 that have moved on. And he has moved on. He started a family.
Yep.
He married Pepper. He's got a daughter. He's got his little cabin in the woods with his little farm and whatever. He's moved on. And so...
he has moved into acceptance in the stages of grief.
Right.
Yeah, and he's matured into the father figure that we've seen him...
since Homecoming, at the very least.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, over the course of the whole MCU, that's what he's going... You know, the movie declares that this is an Iron Man movie when it opens with a classic rock song.
Right.
And then opens on Tony. And that, by the way, that Tony and Nebula paper football thing was just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say everything leading up to the credits in this movie, awesome. And
That was
then,
after the credits, right?
No, it was leading up to the...
Was
yeah,
it?
leading up to the
Avengers
title
card, yeah. So that, you know, you've got the Marvel logo.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Marvel logo hits, and we get a classic rock song, which is how every Iron Man movie, I think, begins. The very first one with an AC/DC song, right? Why I wanted to point this out that he's moved on is that my trouble is with all the characters that haven't moved on, which is everybody else.
Right.
They don't have the... You know, they played that over and over in the trailers, Cap saying some move on, but not us.
Right. I think we should just get to it. So, Tony Stark's trajectory in this movie. He has a family. He's moved on. He's made a life for himself. Everything's great. When destiny calls, he tells Pepper, or Pepper tells him, actually,
yeah,
you're never going to be able to sleep.
You're never be able to rest.
You're not going to be able to rest if you don't.
It's important because that gets echoed in the last.
Yeah.
Right. She says you can rest now.
You can rest now, right?
And so...
which provides the most disappointing opportunity that the movie did not take advantage of.
For
Bucky to say that to Cap.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in less
Yep.
than a minute. Tony gives up his family, hears the call of destiny, goes on one last big adventure.
Yep.
It's all him.
It's all him.
He figures out time travel.
He figures out time
Because
travel, which
he's Iron
sucks,
Man.
by the way. I hate that this movie is about time travel. I hate time travel for anyone.
Yeah, because the biggest problems of this movie are largely related to that.
Well, yeah.
Some of the biggest problems.
But let's talk about the moral content of this movie, because that's the most important thing. So Tony sacrifices himself. He dies. Spoilers. Great story. Now, contrast that.
Does that fit with the rest of Tony's trajectory over the MCU?
Sure.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
basically every Iron Man movie has been about Tony's a selfish pig that learns to
But he's learning to sacrifice.
take responsibility.
Right.
And they've done a really
Well,
nice
that's what
job.
the first Avengers was about. You
That's
know,
right.
it hinged on that whole scene of, are these guys actual heroes? Is Cap the only real hero here?
Right.
Rogers, you're just a science experiment. You take away the suit, what are you? You're not a hero. You're not a guy that would fall on the grenade. And
then he falls on the grenade.
he falls on the grenade in Avengers in that movie, and they're a team.
And then they cleverly subvert our expectations and have him be the one that wants to be more responsible in Civil War. Don't know that it quite tracks with everything, but whatever, it's fine. It's what they wanted to do. And then
the Russo brothers had a clear arc for Cap, and they just absolutely ignored what Whedon did in Age of Ultron.
Which is dumb.
We'll get there, right?
Yeah, well, I want to talk about Cap, but Homecoming, Tony's a really great father figure. That scene is great. I just watched it the other day on YouTube, the scene where he takes away Spider-Man's suit.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's just like, that's a really good dad scene, good disciplined scene, whatever. You know, it really works. And you buy it coming from Tony, and he's still snarky and he's still Tony, but he carries some real fatherly weight there in a really cool way. And Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, bar none the best actor that the franchise has had, and
no question,
the founder of the franchise and all that.
Maybe outside of Drax.
Drax is pretty great. He really knows how to stay in his Robert Downey Jr. persona, how to stay inside the Tony Stark snarky persona, and still bring some weight to the darn thing. Now, let's get to it. Captain America. What is his trajectory over the MCU?
So Cap starts out in First Avenger. He's just a good guy who wants to serve his country and be helpful and anything he can do. And then he's brought back, and he is the guy that is needed to bring the Avengers together. And it doesn't happen without him because Tony's too cynical.
Thor's too Shakespearean.
Thor's
too lame. And what we don't need is a Norse god. What we don't need is a cynical, selfish narcissist. What we don't need is an evolutionary scientist. What we don't need is the turncoat spy. What we need is an old school Christian man who's just going to man up and lead and pull everybody together. And that was the great thing about the way that they played Cap, the way that Whedon played Cap in that first Avengers film was his superpower actually wasn't, that he was a crazy good soldier or fighter. It was that he was a good man and a good leader. And they leaned into that. When the Russo brothers got Winter Soldier, which was one of the coolest movies and may still be the coolest movie in the MCU, just in terms of making everything feel grounded and real and gritty, what they started playing with was disillusioning Cap, embedding the idea that he's actually just a guy who doesn't have any identity but to be a soldier and to fight and just wants to give himself to a cause. And he's actually a pretty broken guy. In between that and Civil War, you have Age of Ultron. And in Age of Ultron, he's just like team player, and he's what he was, more of what he was in the first Avengers movie. And then boom, you go to Civil War, and then Cap is back to, so they yo-yo with him. But the Russo brothers have a clear trajectory for him, and that trajectory is for him to become that much more disillusioned, that much more untrusting, that much more just the safest hands are our own. It's just us versus the world, and we know best, and we can't trust anybody, but we're going to do the right thing. My point is, Cap's trajectory has been for a long time. As Tony's become more heroic, Cap has become more cynical and disillusioned. And, it's like what Tony needs is to become more selfless and more sacrificial and more of a team player. And what Cap needs is to become more like Tony. That's what's consummated in this movie, and that's what's so dumb about it, is Tony becomes the real hero. But Cap, meanwhile, is, from the start of the movie, he can't move on. And you just think, these guys, they hate Cap. Mm-hmm. They hate what he stands for. They hate what he represents. And so they're just like intent on subverting everything that's really great about Cap throughout the course of the whole movie. So one of the first scenes we get with Cap is, he's a
gay pandering scene.
It's a gay pandering scene. He's leading a recovery group, and he's, and one of the Russo brothers is there talking about the date that he had with this other guy, and Cap's all like, that's great. I mean, I think they just hate Cap, and they hate the kind of person that likes Cap. If you're a conservative sort who loves Captain America and what he stands for, then they just want to subvert that, and they want to rub your nose in it. They go back in time to that Joss Whedon version of Captain America, and they mock him to pieces. Like Loki mocks him, and then Cap mocks himself. Like modern Cap mocks old Cap, and they mock his physique. Yeah, his physique. And his big line that actually means something. I can do this all day, which has been a really strong theme that they've been able to pull on with Captain America. And they pull it out. There are all kinds of ways they could have used it powerfully in this movie. And instead they pulled it out and used it as a punchline.
Mm-hmm.
And see, look, even Captain America is disgusted and sick of Captain America. Like, isn't that hilarious? Haha. And so...
But Jake, he gets to wield Thor's hammer because he's worthy.
And that means nothing. By the time that you're going to wield Thor's hammer, what does it mean to be worthy?
Yeah, Lebowski could have done the same thing.
Apparently the big Lebowski could have done the same thing. Why? Because Thor spent the last 5 years being a fat, alcoholic, chip-eating gamer. And so, but he's still worthy. So what does it mean to be worthy? It doesn't mean much.
By the way, easy plot fix. Have Thor not able to wield the hammer. I know it's not that easy of a plot fix, because how would he have gotten the hammer and brought it back from blah, blah, blah. But you can fix that with some timey-wimey crap. You can fix that. But yeah, have it like be a fun thing. Like, oh no, Thor was a schlubby idiot. Now he's not worthy. Who will be worthy? Oh, it's Captain America.
Exactly.
Really easy thing.
But they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been a nice character arc and development?
No, but that's not what they wanted. They wanted to take all of the men and fathers of the MCU and render them completely impotent and or retire them. And so the only one they cared about was Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And so they killed him because they cared about him. But they still needed to get rid of him. And they turned Cap into a broken, selfish...
Selfish? Why do you say selfish? Whatever do you mean?
I mean that he had a chance to move on, and well, there were all kinds of ways to move on.
He took the selfish route,
and he took the absolute most selfish route possible,
which was
to go back in time and to have Peggy and to live a life where he would not be able to use any of his gifts or powers for any kind of good.
The war was over, Jake. It's time for him to retire.
No, according to the timeline, all those things would have still been going on while he was alive.
But he already knew that they succeeded.
Yeah, but he would have had to be Captain America while Bucky was in prison for how long?
While Bucky was being used to
so just the fact that he would not go back in time.
People like Tony's parents.
Yeah, just so he would not,
the Cold War was a thing while...
That's a big plot. I mean, that's just so stupid right there.
He worked through Peggy Carter to found S.H.I.E.L.D., a wonderful organization.
But that was infiltrated by Hydra, but he couldn't do anything about that.
And Captain America really showed that he was willing to just sit on the sidelines in all these movies.
Well, because he knew the other Captain America was out there saving the day. Anytime important happened, he'd already saved it. Are you guys saying that it's wrong to ever retire or take a little me time? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, no, it's not wrong to retire, but for Cap at that point...
The height of his powers...
at the height of his powers to decide that he's just going to go live in the 1940s.
Peace out.
It just did not
peace out on everybody. Yeah. That was, it was just a regression. It wasn't growth. And it was the fact that he was stuck. Like the whole idea of moving on, Tony moved on, right? Cap didn't move on. Cap still carried around a compass with Peggy Carter's picture from 1944 in it. He had this relationship with Sharon Carter, Peggy's niece. You know, they kissed in Civil War or whatever, and it was too long in coming, and it was a great, sweet thing that happened. And, you know, there was a chance to move on, but no, Cap is calcified in his brokenness. And so he's going to go back and be with Peggy.
Yeah, it was dumb. I was just playing the devil's advocate before in case anybody was unclear about that fact. Were you unclear?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad to know.
Yeah, no. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was, honestly, I don't really want to go back and watch Captain America movies anymore.
I think it retroactively ruined Captain America for me. And that's really sad because Cap was my guy. And Cap was my guy because Cap was the closest. The triumph of what they did early on with Captain America was they gave me the Superman of my childhood back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they gave, how do you pull off in 2012 or 2011 or 2011 or whenever Captain America came out, 2012 when the first Avengers came out, how do you pull off a Captain America type? Like they did it.
Well, and the genius of it was you basically just go for it. If you're Joss Whedon, you do it with a tiny bit of a wink, which I like. In the same sense that Christopher Reeves just went for it, the original 70s Superman movies. Like, just give it to people. What does Cap say in the Avengers? There's only one God, ma'am, and
he doesn't dress like that.
He doesn't dress like that. So that's Joss Whedon having a little fun at Cap's expense, maybe.
I was having more fun at Thor's expense.
It's a cornball line than a cornball guy would say, and we understand
Sure.
that. But I don't think that that's Joss Whedon ultimately making fun of Cap or putting down. He's basically just saying, this guy's cornball, and he's awesome. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the genius of the first Avengers. There's that wonderful, so corny, so wonderful scene where Loki's like, bow before me. And then this old guy stands up and he looks really Jewish. And
Yeah.
he's like, I know men like you, and then Cap,
And then he's going
Cap
to blast
saves him.
him, and then boom, Cap with his shield.
Loki, by the way, a real jerk. And then we're supposed to forget about that in subsequent movies, all the millions of lives that Loki ended. Oh, well. Or attention span is not something that modern filmmakers are much interested in cultivating for people.
No.
And you kind of have to just go along with it. You kind of just have to be like, okay, well, I guess for the sake of being entertained, we can forget that Loki's a mass murderer here.
Well, for me, with the in-game, it doesn't surprise me knowing who the Russo brothers are.
Mm-hmm. Who are they, Brandon?
Well, they're directing the background. They came from having directed a lot of Community, which was a ironic hipster TV show,
Sure was.
and also episodes of Arrested Development,
Another ironic.
which was also another ironic hipster TV show. And so the fact that they directed those movies, that's what made them famous, and that's what grabbed the Russo brothers. That's what grabbed Marvel's attention for some reason.
Yeah. Well, Marvel's been very good about seeking out interesting indie kind of people.
But if you know anything about those
Fitting them
shows,
into the mold.
they pride themselves on this sort of ironic stance towards the American ideal. And it would be this perfect mentality for someone who would not have any way to grasp or understand a Captain America.
Right.
And so that's how I see this movie is they had the perfect lens for understanding who Iron Man was. He's ironic and sarcastic, and of course they want him to end up being a hero.
Right.
But they have no way of comprehending Captain America. They have no way of comprehending Thor.
Well, I want to clarify or add on to something that Jake said. Jake said they hate fathers, they hate men, they hate Captain America. I think that's absolutely 100% true. I also think they would never admit that, and they haven't admitted that to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I think they
I don't
like
know that it's conscious.
They like their Captain America. Like they're just like, oh, he's like us. He made the right choice. He finally decided to.
Well, they can have a Captain America if that Captain America is a woman or is black.
Yeah, that's true. Although,
is that too un-PC to say?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, Captain Marvel, she's done nothing heroic. Her movie gives her nothing interesting or heroic to do, and we're supposed to just accept that she's great.
And Black Panther is his world's Captain America.
Well, Brandon, you haven't seen his movie, and it wasn't my favorite, but it is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So
he's a good hero.
He's a man. I mean, we can accept that. But yeah, the level of, is it misandry when you hate men? Is that the reverse misogyny?
Yes, misandry.
Misandry.
Yes.
The level of misandry, that's a nice word, on display in this movie. You got Captain America giving up and being selfish. You got Chris Evans literally getting kneed in the testicles.
Yep.
You got Thor.
No, Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Who did I say? Chris. No, that would be, they wouldn't quite go that far, maybe. They basically did metaphorically. Chris Pratt, you've got, who are the other men in the MCU? You've got Thor being a schlubby jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You've got
Hulk
being a funny bro, which he's always kind of been ever since.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spider-Man's just a kid. I mean,
we should spend time on Thor, and maybe you're planning to get there, but
let's get there now.
Well, the big disappointment with Thor is they actually had a good arc with Thor in Ragnarok and then leading into Infinity War.
Right. Absolutely.
Infinity War was in some ways a Thor movie, him coming to terms with...
It was a Guardians movie, but yes, it was very
Thor as being now part of their world.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he fits very well in that world. I mean, one of the funniest moments in Endgame is the last scene between Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Struggling over that power. That's funny.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and then Thor's scenes with Rocket are genuinely moving, actually.
Yeah, and so,
Infinity War,
the trajectory in Infinity War was he didn't know if he came to doubt his power, and then he came to accept his power and take it and come back, and almost defeat Thanos.
Yeah.
And so, but then the way that this next movie decides to handle it is to have him become a fat schlub. And he never comes out of that arc. He's always a fat schlub in this movie.
And he doesn't really get punished for it. Like if he couldn't pick the hammer up, I actually think that would be a cool, like, there's a consequence for being a fat schlub kind of a
Well, yeah, but
situation.
the point is to make every man an emasculated joke. So they make Cap essentially an impotent joke, and they give him a moment of potency where he picks up the hammer and he fights Thanos and the Avengers assemble.
But the reason that's worth even examining as much as we are is because that moment didn't make me cry, and that's insane.
Well, it didn't land. Yeah, it didn't land because they had subverted it at every other point in the film.
Which
and
moment?
they subverted it
when Cap wields the hammer, like that should.
They
be...
subverted it in how they filmed and scored it. I mean, every aspect of it was subverted. That's the truth. But the fact with Thor is, okay. So in Ragnarok, they found a Thor that was likable and fun, cool. But that Thor still felt tremendous responsibility for his people.
Mm-hmm.
And
the movie ends with a cheesy Power Rangers kind of a moment, but it's also a sincere, like, empowered male kind of a moment. It's like, find your power inside, and you're the real lightning god.
And he does, and he wins.
Right.
And, boom, we pick up an Infinity War, and Thanos is there, and Thanos has decimated them all. And they had no hope against Thanos. Like, you see in that post-credits in Ragnarok, like, Thanos' ship
right
versus their ship. It's like, there's no hope. Thanos' ship could swallow 1,000 of their ships. Okay, so now he's just sad Thor. He's still jock dude bro Thor, and it's funny, but it becomes more tragic throughout Infinity War.
Yeah.
But then he gets his axe and he goes and he almost kills Thanos.
Right.
So then we come back, we pick up an Endgame, and he's just a fat schlub. And I don't mind starting there with him. I don't mind him being depressed. I don't mind even him switching roles with Valkyrie, which they just did.
Right.
For no good reason. Like, she comes out of it and now she's cool and chill and he's just a drunk. But it's what Brandon said earlier, is that he never got out of it for the whole movie. What they definitely needed him to do was to go cry to his mom.
Right.
And for his mom to be awesome and for him still not to come out of it. And okay, it's funny, but he just never gets out of it. He never gets out of it. I just think it's cheap, and the whole point of it is to emasculate the men.
Yeah. Well,
to make them all impotent. And so they are.
We've made this point before in other podcast media things, but if you doubt that, if you think we're just seeing a liberal conspiracy where there isn't one, you should really read liberal reviews, read reviews in progressive newspapers. And I don't know, people read newspapers, but find movie reviews, and you will see people on the other side praising the movie for these very qualities.
For doing just that.
Yeah. Now, everybody makes fun of the shot. That one shot is too pandering even for feminists. The shot where all the women
are all lining up behind
Captain America. That's so obviously pandering that I've read multiple takes by feminists where they're just like, come on, guys, you can do better propaganda than that.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought in the theater, and my wife and I talked about afterwards about how they shot their own feet off when they shot that scene.
Yeah.
Except for one aspect of it, which is that, little girls think that scene's pretty cool.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because the Wasp looks really confused to be there. That's pretty funny.
The Wasp always looks confused to be everywhere because she's played by Evangeline Lilly.
She's always looking
Kate,
like why am I an actress again? It's like, we don't know. We don't know.
Kate has about...
two expressions.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I was going to give her 3, but you weren't going to go that far.
She's got pouty. She's got confused. I think that might be it.
Seductive.
Yeah, pouty, confused, seductive. And seductive is usually either confused, seductive, or pouty, seductive.
Yeah.
Fair. And I really think when it comes to Thor, he wasn't just a sacrifice for the feminists. I think he was a sacrifice for the nerds. That's what I think.
We can't have somebody that looks this manly, this traditionally manly.
Yeah, that's this traditionally manly and this traditionally handsome. Like, you take out Cap and you take out Thor, and then who do you have left? The sciencey, nerdy guy.
Right.
And he's the one that saves the day by being sciencey and nerdy and not being virtuous and not being just like awesome and strong and cool.
Right.
I mean, I just think it's as much fan service for the nerds win kind of thing.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that angle.
Well, when you consider how much they were not actually giving to the nerds throughout the course of the whole movie. I really think it was just a bit of, as much of anything, a bit of fan service. Like,
Thank you, nerds, for sticking with us.
Well, yeah, like, you come to the movie and, you can't get behind everything, and the time travel stuff's a little bit weird, but at least they stuck it to that dude bro Thor, and I'm so happy that he was a fat, stupid slob who ended the movie as impotent as he did.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I just think it's so counterproductive, because I just think there's a whole legion of kids and little boys and people like me who, I've said this before in various Warhorn media, I never liked Robin because I didn't want to imagine myself. Like, what would it be like to be Batman's sidekick? No.
Yeah.
The question for every little boy, for me, what would it be like to be Batman?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I want to imagine. I want heroes that are larger than life, that are bigger than me. And so Marvel's whole gimmick and formula from day one, from Iron Man, has been, what would it be like if heroes were just like cool hangout people like us?
Yeah.
And I think that's effective, and I think that's why we like it, and they sure done a better job with it than Zack Snyder's faux myth making.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I don't want to be too hard on that, but there was at least one guy who was better than us, Captain America.
Yeah.
And Joss Whedon knew how to do it with a little wink that made it palatable, and he was good.
And by the end of Infinity War, Thor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But again, it's just I keep going back to who the Russo brothers are.
Mm-hmm.
And this will just smack of bookening stuff with me because I am all about the author and stuff. But
sure.
The directors here, their hatred of their ironic hipsterism just comes through. They can't accept these men.
Well, there's things
they can accept Tony.
We were talking off mic about the cinematography, and so like that moment when Cap gets the hammer, the person, me and Jake keep talking about this, and we keep comparing it to Peter Jackson, because Peter Jackson, when he does a big moment in one of his movies, he does it so cornily. It's like, here come the Rohirrim over the ridge, like everything's lost, and then Gandalf shows up, and
in the glow of the light behind him.
You better believe the sun comes up behind him.
Just as, because of course it is.
Right. In slow motion.
By sunrise on the third, there's the sun.
Will you join your king? Yes, I will. And then they ride down in slow motion, and the music swells, and it's this beautiful music, and it's in slow motion, and the bad guys are quivering, and the sun is coming up, and the sun actually gets in the bad guys' eyes, and they all go, whoa!
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's so over the top.
Yeah, but
ruining it for
every
me.
time I saw that moment, it lands.
It does land,
I would cry. It was like, yay! I mean, people would actually cheer in the theater, like, the Rohirrim are coming! Yay!
Yeah, I remember crying at that scene.
It's great. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can criticize it for being corny and stupid and on the nose all you want, and it is. But man, does it land!
And it's like the Russo brothers are principled against letting anything like that land. They're so committed to standing sideways from every heroic moment, or from making it all feel just so passive. Right, we're just sort of passively watching these great things happen, because there's a lot of great things happening. You want at that moment the filmmaker, the camera, everything to be on the right side and not just sort of like objective.
Well, you just want to feel like the authorial vision was intentional, and you want that intention to be, this is the coolest thing you've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And so whether it's slow motion, there's all kinds of ways to do it, but the camera should be telling you at that moment that this is awesome, and Cap is standing for justice, and this villain's going to get it, and you should be really feeling. But instead, it's a flat shot. It's not under Cap. It's not looking up at him with reverence. It's just straight on, and it comes out of there's no particular build to it. There's not a series of shots leading up to it. It's just there, and it's just suddenly happening. And there's a million different ways that you could do it to give it some heft cinematically. We don't have to talk about cinematography, but just very simply, just think about. I mean, that's why I bring up Peter Jackson, because you can imagine how he would have done it. You can imagine the hammer there, and Cap sees it, and he runs in slow motion, and the music swells, and he grabs it. So that's one really corny, obvious way to do it. There's other more subtle, more artistic ways to do it, but the point is, do it. And the Russo brothers' whole aesthetic is just like, here we are, cool stuff is happening. And it's kind of refreshing, like the first, whatchamacallit, the
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier was refreshing because it's just
Winter Soldier was refreshing.
Okay, if I was really seeing superheroes do superhero stuff, this is kind of what a documentary camera would capture. They're not playing it up.
I thought the action in Winter Soldier was really, really great and cool for that reason. It was like, oh man, like in Winter Soldier, Cap could fight.
Right.
And you understand, like, Cap is awesome. But that was cool.
At a certain point, that thing stopped paying for itself.
It had the effect in the MCU that the Bourne movies had on just like action and spy thriller type things in general. Not that it was especially Bourne-y in Winter Soldier, but it had a similar kind of grounding effect, and that was cool. But yeah, when it comes to and the idea that these wildly fantastical superheroes going to get a grounded treatment, that's a nice conceit. Like,
but even within that, you
a nice
still have to
counterbalance.
like actually Civil War, also by the Russo brothers, has a good way of doing that for the most part.
That final fight,
the final fight between Iron Man and Civil War, what's his name, Captain America. It actually we get some slow motion. It's not maybe the most elegant cinematic solution if you're going to be a snob like me, but the point is we get it. Like at a certain point, they just stand back and they say these are two titans clashing. You really feel it, and they through the camera, through the music that they use, they tell the story of not just dad and mom fighting, but dad and mom if dad and mom were gods, and that's what you want. But you get very little of that actually. Even Tony's final moment is just very well. I got the jewels now, and I'm going to say my line. Like it feels like an afterthought. And as a matter of fact, I found an article today that said it was an afterthought.
Yeah, that blew my mind when you told me that.
The Russos, so Thanos says, I am inevitable. Iron Man says, I am Iron Man. That wasn't in the script. That was a reshoot, a last minute
from
reshoot.
A couple months ago.
The editor said, Tony should really say I'm Iron Man. And they were like, oh, that's a good idea. Which to me, it's just like...
Which makes me realize that, yeah.
It makes you realize how little of an actual hand is at the controls here.
How little control they had over it, which makes me think that the whole stuff with Captain America, really, they didn't
realize what they were doing.
They didn't think it through. They thought
none of this through. It makes me hate them and like them a little bit more, both. It makes me...
Maybe not make me like them.
I don't like them anymore.
Well, it makes me think it gives a little maybe less credence to the fact that they were intentionally subverting.
It feels a little less nefarious.
Less like they're malicious, more like they're stupid.
Yes.
For what that's worth.
Yeah, and I think they kind of are stupid. Might be a silly point.
If you don't come to the end of Tony Stark, you get all the way through, and if you've never had the thought that he should say, I am Iron Man.
That's
like... It means you never watched the movies.
It's like you've never watched the movies. Yeah. It's like you've never paid attention. It's like, what is wrong with you?
I am Iron Man. I'm sorry, not to be a snob, but Iron Man. I am Iron Man is the first thought that you come up with. You reject it because it's too obvious. You think of a million other things, and then maybe you circle back around and say, "Okay, let's just do that." That's great.
But only if you come up with the perfect setup for it.
Right.
And it's like if you look at, I wrote down my final predictions for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had lines attached to them.
Right. It would have been I am Iron Man when Tony snapped.
We predicted that Tony would wield the gauntlet to kill Thanos and bring everybody back was how we predicted it. And it was, I am Iron Man. I am Tony Stark. You know my name. I hope they forget you or just forget you. Right?
Go for the head. I went for the head was one that we predicted.
I went for the head. Yeah, was one that we predicted. We predicted Thor would kill Thanos by cracking his skull. And I went for the head. We also thought after Cap wields the hammer, Thanos should try to grab it on the field and not be able to do it. Then Thor cracks his head and says, "You're not worthy."
Right.
And then turns and says, "I went for the head."
Right.
That would have, maybe we're Joss Whedoning it, or maybe I was Joss Whedoning it in my, Black Widow dies sacrificially. I've got red in my ledger.
Did she say that?
No, she didn't say that. I actually put, I've got red in my ledger. And then she dies, and then Clint says, "Not anymore."
Right.
Well,
this is a good example because these are cheesy, but those are exactly the things that you come up with, and then you decide, is it too cheesy or not?
Exactly.
I am Iron Man.
You start with
first
my whole point is that these are the places that you start with all these things. And so if you're going to end with Cap in the 1940s, they dance, and then she asks, if this is too much, or if he's tired, or if his feet hurt, and he says, "I can do this all day."
Right.
Right? Like, because of course that's how you do it.
Yeah, but they didn't think of any of that stuff because they're dumb.
They didn't even think of it, is the part that blows my mind.
Which is what makes me think this is not some malicious liberal conspiracy. This is just a couple of progressive liberal idiots. That are just doing what comes natural to them.
Because they had the gall to make fun of every other movie's time travel and then make huge mistakes with their own.
Well, I hate time travel so much. I'm not going to go
still,
on
if you're going to
rant,
make fun of other time travel, then
you better have a self-consistent system, and they couldn't even bother to do that.
Then the whole mess with Captain America. I mean, there are real problems. I mean, it's just stupid.
It's a mess.
How does he get the stones back into their original shape?
Right. Well,
he's not a magician.
I just think, okay, they don't believe in authority. They don't believe in manliness. I think that people might think I'm being over the top here, but I think that trickles down into how they tell their stories. And so this story is a shapeless mess. Nobody exercised a rigorous, authoritative hand over the shaping of this story. It's just kind of there. It's just like this thing happens, but this other thing could just as easily happen. It doesn't all feel inevitable. It doesn't all feel
have asked J.D. Salinger to write the script.
They should have. Shut up, Brandon. He's making a reference to our other podcast, The Bookening. You can listen to it. We could talk about Catcher in the Rye all day.
Yeah, all day.
Do this all day.
I am inevitable.
But it's just shapeless. So I went to a wedding, and the pastor preached this lame sermon from The Message. He preached, for some reason, he decided to do Ephesians 5, which is the wives be subject to your husbands is the line from Ephesians 5. But he preached this from The Message, and the line in the Message translation is, wives, support and help your husbands in the same way that you would support Christ. And so this pastor obviously didn't believe in authority. He didn't believe in masculinity. He didn't believe in any of that. The wedding then was trash. The songs didn't start at the right time. Everything was miscued. You ended up feeling bad for the bride because nothing happened the way it was supposed to. Florence and the Machine were supposed to come on for the recessional. They didn't come on. It was silent. They walked down the thing in shame, and the pastor said, pretend like there's music. That literally happened. Oh. And then after the whole wedding party had left, Dog Days starts playing. And I just couldn't help but think, perhaps uncharitably, but I think probably correctly, this pastor didn't believe in any authority. Now let's take our Infinity Stone and let's flash back to yesterday.
To the rehearsal. Guess what? This guy's not exercising any authority over the rehearsal. He's not telling the sound guys, you got to get the cues right. He's not directing everybody. He's not just exercising authority over it. And look, the bride is the one that's punished. Yeah, there's consequences. And so that is all a big metaphor for the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige and everybody. They don't believe in any of this stuff. And I think it affects their storytelling choices. Like the fact that this movie is kind of shapeless, the fact that the time travel doesn't really work, the fact that they don't really seem to care about the moral consequences. Like it's all kind of a piece. One of the most telling scenes is Thor explaining the ether. What I mean is you've got this scene and they're like talking about the Infinity Stones and trying to figure out where they're at and how they're going to go back and get them. And so Thor gets up and it's supposed to be a funny scene. He's like, well, actually it's not really a stone. You should stop calling it a stone. It's more like an angry gas. And then he calls it a stone again immediately. And the whole point is none of this is actually consistent or makes sense. But that's okay. Just go with it. Like they don't actually...
So that's why you think they did that?
I think that's...
Yeah.
Well, look, here's what happens. All of Thor Dark World is like all of the thousands of years of technology of Asgard can't remove the ether from Padme.
Yeah.
Right.
Jane Foster. Sorry, I couldn't...
Whatever her name is.
Whatever her name is, Pat. And then, we're going to go back. We're going to somehow we just have a thing where we can extract it, like giving her a shot. And then boom, we've got it. And then boom, we can crystallize it into a stone. And then boom, we can transfer it back to an angry gas. And then boom, we can go inject it back into her. Cap's going to do it all. It's just all a whole bunch of hand waving. And I think that's just meta commentary on how absurd some of this stuff is. Right there, they're just saying, yeah, we know this is all sort of absurd and silly and just go with it because that's not why you're here anyway. That does work for the masses, but it doesn't work for... It's lazy and cheap. Yeah. It's lazy and cheap.
I don't think it does work for the masses. I mean, I think people enjoy this movie, but I do not accept that everyone's just an idiot that likes dumb things. I think people, whether they can articulate it or not, probably do feel some disappointment. And I think it doesn't... Like Stephen King has a saying that I like. He says, I could publish my laundry list and what's more, it could be a bestseller. but would they buy my next book? And I think trust will erode over time. And I predict that, as we go, people will lose their confidence in these movies. But
Like Star Wars.
exactly like what happened with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars is just doing it quicker and dumber. But
Star Wars is over.
Star Wars is basically over.
Well, I mean, what you were saying fits in with what I was about to say, and I can't think of a better word than hipster. So sorry about that. But what are they?
Postmodern, maybe.
They're
is
postmodern.
better.
So yeah, I
Pomo.
mean, they're very postmodern. Pomo, the Russo brothers in their style. And like most postmoderns and pomos, they are the one thing they're very confident about is that they're smarter than everybody else in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do things like they have Thor very ironically and meta explain this stone that's not really a stone. And then they also have, like I said, this scene where they're explaining the time travel and they're making fun of Back to the Future and all this other stuff where they're, again, meta, making fun of time travel movies in general. And so, hey, guys, look at us. We realize that all this is just dumb and we're as smart as you and we're very smart. Look at us all. We're very smart.
And we actually get it. We've got a more consistent theory of time travel.
So instead of a subtle wink like Joss Whedon, it's just let's just wink at everything.
Yeah, well, that's what, they assume, one, that everybody's dumb, and they also assume that everybody's going to go along for the ride and just go blind when they tell them to go blind.
Yeah.
Which I really resent because, like, there is a certain
Which is
kind of
part of
person...
why I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's also part of why I think they had to do with Thor what they did. I think he's a fan service sacrifice because of what you're about to say.
I'm not sure if I'm about to say the right thing, so maybe we should just say it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were about to go into the thing that you had said to me yesterday or the day before about the attractiveness of the mythology and the consistency of it, creating... You didn't even remember having this conversation?
I mean, go on. It's probably a great point, but I don't remember.
We're just talking about how nerds love the arcana and love all the details and love it all being consistent.
It's
and
fun.
Being able to get into it and
that is kind of what I was going to say.
And sort through how it all does actually work.
Yeah, this actually feels like a slap in the face of the nerds. Like the nerds want it to make sense. They want to geek out about all the details. And the movie is constantly making fun of you for that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's mocking you for caring about the details. And it's like, the fun of this is being able to argue about it on the playground with your dumb friends. Like, that's why we like this. And I really resent the whole school. There's a certain kind of film goer who's petulantly lazy and says, it's just supposed to be fun. Just get over yourself and just buckle your seatbelt for the ride. It's fun. And it's like, but guess what's more fun? Things that make sense, things that reflect the moral world as God made it. Like all these little details add up to a more enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
So just on the level of summer movie, blockbuster, popcorn fun, it's more fun when it's good. It's more fun when it's well constructed. It's more fun when it makes sense. It's more fun when you don't have to think about plot holes.
It's more fun when it holds together. It's more fun when you don't have to you don't plaster over your plot holes with meta jokes about how this is full of plot holes.
Yeah. Right. That's why all the nerds are going to start moving to Stranger Things instead.
No, what's going to happen?
I'm sneering at Brandon right now for
I said that just for Nathan's sake. But
yeah, I know. What's going to happen is the dude bros are going to go that much more full into the John Wick type things of the world.
John Wick, yeah.
Because you take Thor away and you take Captain America away and you take away all the fathers and you say what we're doing is we're lining up a bunch of women to lead this forward. They're going to go into, whatever the next Fight Club type thing is.
I really think that's true. And I think that's accurate. I think that prophecy will come true and people will...
It's DC.
It's already coming true.
DC was ahead of its time when they picked Zack Snyder to helm the DC EU. I think that if they launched tomorrow, like pretend that DC had done nothing for the last 5 or 6 years, and they launched tomorrow as Zack Snyder led DC Universe, everybody that was disaffected by, even that doesn't even know they're disaffected, is suddenly, they don't know what it is, but they're ready for that.
I don't know that I can quite go there with you on Zack Snyder because those movies are pretty bad. And
I'm not saying that those movies as they are. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but something like I think
this Joker movie is going to rake.
What is it?
The Joker is going to rake.
Yeah, that's possible. But I think eventually someone's going to really nail the formula, and they're just going to give like all the disaffected males exactly the combination of non-pandering, non-SJW, completely sexist, violent garbage. John Wick's kind of
with
that
mythos,
with a mythos that you can buy into. That's just like hero worshiping, and it will be garbage. It will probably be evil in a completely different way than this modern progressive BS is. But somebody's eventually going to nail that formula and just make something that taps in. I dare say taps into the zeitgeist in a way that like all of our friends that frequent Dalrock's blog, if people
are really gonna be attracted to.
Yeah. I mean, John Wick is actually probably the best thing you could say, or the closest to that kind of thing. But I think eventually someone's gonna come up with the really nasty, kind of like 50 Shades, just bypassed everybody's defenses and just said, well, you guys aren't interested in this boring vanilla progressive sexuality, so here's some dirty real sex, and it's not real at all. It's gross.
That fetishizes dominance and submission, authority and submission.
Right. They've gotten completely rid of authority. So here's our brutal fetishized version, and you're all just going to love it. I think somebody's going to do that with the modern action movie, with the modern special effects extravaganza, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be divisive, and it's going to be fun to watch from the sidelines.
Well, it sounds like we have a screenplay to write.
Yeah, our terrible, nihilistic.
Meanwhile, Marvel's over.
Marvel's dead, yes.
It's dead. And
I have no interest in the Marvel universe moving forward.
A machine that big. You know, we could talk about what they've got left. They've got T'Challa. He's a good father figure. And they might be able to do something with him. Spider-Man's cool, but what did they do with Spider-Man in this movie? They made him the cute little boy that the women are taking the field was kickstarted by Spider-Man getting knocked out, right? And it's like, he's knocked out. He's got the gauntlet. Captain Marvel shows up.
Hey, Peter Parker.
Hi, I'm Peter Parker. Hey, Peter Parker.
Oh, man.
And she's going to protect him, right? And she's going to take the gauntlet and do the thing. And then all the women line up, right? So what do they do with Peter Parker? What do they do with Spider-Man? They make him into the cute little kid that needs the maternal protection of all the... I mean, it's just like not a lot of this in and of itself. Like Thor's mom was really great, but the simple fact that Thor had to go to mommy is subversive.
Yeah, and emblematic of where we're headed.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing throughout the course of the whole movie.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think Phase 4 is going to suck. I think the next couple Spider-Men are going to be good. I think Guardians 3 will be fun and funny and artistic.
I don't think you have to go out on a limb to say that. I agree with you, but I think just in terms of, it's like a machine, it's big, it's huge, it's got momentum. Just because
the engine dies doesn't mean the car's not going to still roll for a while.
Because it's going to roll for miles and miles and miles and miles because it was going 1,000,000 miles an hour. But the engine died, and the engine died when Robert Downey Jr. got killed, and they decided that all fathers needed to die with him.
Right.
And we could talk about how awesome Robert Downey Jr. is, and maybe this isn't a podcast for that, but yeah, I think Spider-Man will have a lot of and I was thinking just this morning, man, they can do so much, and they can live off of Robert Downey Jr.'s legacy with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's lost 2 father figures. He's lost Uncle Ben, which they've never even bothered exploring, which has been a really smart and great move on their part. And now he's lost Robert Downey Jr., who's going to how's he going to deal with that?
Well, let me go ahead and ask a question. Robert Downey Jr. hologram cameo in the next Spider-Man movie?
Absolutely.
Right?
No question.
Gotta be, you would think.
No question. Or voice cameo.
Something.
Probably,
what I would predict.
And a total tearjerker.
If they're just going to do the lame, obvious thing, end of second act, Peter's down in the dumps. The bad guy looks like he's going to win. Oh, what's this weird thing on my suit?
Exactly.
Hi, Peter.
Exactly. Yep. I've had the same thought. And you know what? I also think that eventually, far enough down the line, they'll bring him back as an AI, or as AI can't, even just his voice, a voice, sort of what they'll end up with is they'll end up finding ways to Stan Lee him.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the only argument against that is he might be a very expensive Stan Lee.
Yeah.
But yes, he might be, but he also knows that it's his legacy, and
has some actual loyalty.
He has some actual loyalty and gratitude. That it's sort of like y'all know who John Calipari is.
Nope.
He's head coach of Kentucky basketball.
Oh yeah,
and UCLA tried to hire him away, and Kentucky gave him a lifetime contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means is that when he retires, he continues to draw an annual salary from the University of Kentucky as an ambassador of Kentucky basketball.
Nice.
I wouldn't be surprised if there actually isn't some kind of deal.
No,
like
it wouldn't
that.
shock me either. Robert Downey Jr. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. has a really cocky star persona, but you see interviews with him and stuff. He's pretty humble about the fact that his career was over. He'd messed up. He was famous for an incident. I forget exactly what the incident was, but it was with drugs or prostitutes or something. Like, he'd really ruined things for himself. And then the MCU took a wild chance on this guy who wasn't an A-lister, and they gave him a second chance. I saw an interview with him after the first Iron Man came out where he's just talking about, like, I don't, he said a few months ago, I did an interview with GQ where I was smoking cigars and talking about women. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not my persona anymore. Like, I'm Iron Man now. Like, kids are looking to me. I want to, he's actually aware of the legacy in a really cool way. You compare that, of course, to Chris Evans and Brie Larson, who who could care less about the legacy, think that they deserved it, and think that it's a platform for them to spew their nonsense.
Yeah, Chris Evans and Brie Larson think that they made Captain America and Captain Marvel, and not that Captain America made Chris Evans. Which, what had Chris Evans ever done before?
Jake, not another teen movie. Come on.
Exactly. Not another teen movie and a failed Fantastic Four movie.
Yep.
Great.
Oh, that's right. He was in that.
He was. He played the Johnny or something. I don't know. I've never seen those.
Neither have I.
He played the Chris Evans part.
One other thing, just in terms of Spider-Man, that I think is a cool idea that I had this morning, and that's that Jon Favreau's Happy can carry some emotional fatherly weight moving forward. And I think that that's actually a pretty sweet idea.
That's where I
think that's at least hinted at with the trailers, right?
I mean, he's always been sort of comedic relief, but if you watched Homecoming, he's just sort of like annoyed, but he's got sort of... But I think that Cheeseburgers was one of the most moving moments of
Endgame,
Mm-hmm. It was such a great callback to that first Iron Man movie. Comes out of captivity and he wants his cheeseburgers, and Happy's got to go get the cheeseburgers, and and it's a Favreau film, and so it's like got all that double meaning of Favreau and RDJ started it, and there they are, and I could see a Happy that is just committed to, is so loyal, has been so loyal to Tony, and is just committed to continuing that.
I could also see a Happy who's a dumb clown that's in the way because these people suck
need to
and
grow.
Because
these people are stupid.
Because the
about how to do
filmmakers
this.
hate father figures and would rather Happy suck.
But I think that if they're smart, and I mean, they've not made many missteps with. This is such a huge misstep.
Well, minus ruining everything, they haven't made many missteps, and I actually mean that statement sincerely.
Yeah, but I think that they will allow father figures in tertiary roles.
Yeah, I'm worried they want it to be Sam Fury, and so, or whatever his name is, Nick Fury. No, so
that won't work.
Well, we'll see. I hope you're right. I'm just not getting my hopes up.
They got in the trailer. They got Happy hitting on Aunt May.
Yeah, I think it'll just be like goofy old Happy. Can't leave well enough alone.
No, Jon Favreau's not that dumb. He would tell them, "Oh, whatever."
I want to believe you, Jake. I hope you're right, but I'm just not getting my hopes up. That's all. Brandon, your thoughts?
I just hope that pig shows up.
They're gonna
Spider-Verse.
That would be cool.
They are gonna give us Miles Morales.
Really?
I mean, they set it up at least in Homecoming. They have his uncle in it.
Oh.
Donald Glover is his uncle, Uncle Aaron, who also is the Shock. He's one of. No, he's not the Shocker. He's a villain in the Spider universe.
Not Nightcrawler.
You want to talk about a good superhero movie? That's a good superhero movie.
What?
You want to talk about?
Spider-Man,
you want to talk about
Spider-Verse?
You want to talk about why I do not forgive the it's just a popcorn kind of mistakes, just a popcorn movie kind of mistakes that Endgame makes, because there are actual smart, savvy, progressive, not on the same philosophical wavelength, but still just smart filmmaker people out there that make things like Into the Spider-Verse, which is a
That movie was
fantastically well-made
An
movie.
awesome,
Great movie, yeah.
awesome movie. One of the best superhero movies.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to say of all time.
I'm not going to go there with you because I'm a contrarian, but
So what are they for you? What are the best superhero movies of all time?
Steel, starring Shaq, obviously would be number one.
Yeah. Blade.
Blade 3.
Blade
Trinity.
3, yeah.
Kazam.
Kazam. Whatever that movie with Tim Allen where he teaches kids to be superheroes in some kind of Sky University or something.
Oh, yeah. Probably Sky University.
Sky University, yeah.
Incredibles 2.
Incredible. Oh, boy. There's some clunkers out there, folks. Batman and Robin.
Batman Forever.
Nah, Into the Spider-Verse. All right. I'm just going to tell people my opinion on Into the Spider-Verse. I think it is perfect. I think it is a perfect movie. I also think it is about a subject that I don't care about, which is superheroes.
Ethnicity.
And ethnicity. Like, it is the perfect movie. It is also all about itself, and that's not a topic that I personally am all that interested or invested in. And so the movie is like a 3 out of 4 for me, not a 4 out of 4. But I can see how if you really like that kind of stuff, it's a 4 out of 4. So in terms of
I'm not going to even go there with you on what it's about.
That's an awfully relativistic way of looking at it, Nathan.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. Life is relative in certain ways, Brandon. Well, I don't know. It's like they keep flashing comics, and it's like comics are important, and it's just like
that's just part of the aesthetic.
I don't
of the
agree with
film.
you, movie.
Which I thought was innovative and
Consistent and
cool
good, yeah.
and neat.
Yeah, no, guys, I like
Aesthetically,
it. Everybody acts like I'm such a grump just because I don't want to say this is the Citizen Kane of movies. Citizen Kane is the Citizen Kane of movies, though.
No, Citizen Kane is overrated.
Oh, Brandon, you can take a long walk in the sticks, my friend. But
choose which direction.
I really like it. I said it's a perfect movie. It is a perfect movie.
It is perfect.
It's just not that good.
Well, Nathan, your credibility is... Yeah, whatever.
It's no Amazing Spider-Man 2, as our friend who wasn't allowed.
Ben Sulzer.
Ben Sulzer would say. No. It's a perfect movie. It really is.
It's fantastic.
Great. It's great.
Movie.
It's wonderful. It's just...
I guess I don't understand the phrase, how can it be the perfect movie but not be great?
Well, because the perfect movie about... Oh, I don't know. What's a perfect movie? Like, The Last Waltz is a perfect concert film about the band. It's by Martin Scorsese. It's perfect. It's a perfect concert film, but I don't like the band. I don't like their music. And so I don't like that movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, kind of the same thing. It's a really well done movie. It's about a subject matter that I don't believe in. It's about like the power of myth or something. I don't even know. But whatever the thematic thing that it concerns itself with is not something that I quite buy into. And so therefore it's a 3.5 out of 4. Brendan and Jake are both staring at me.
This argument, Nathan.
It's great.
This is probably one of the weaker arguments you've had in a while.
Nah, this is a good argument.
I think it's pretty bad.
No, why?
I don't know. Just because the content doesn't do it for you, therefore that gives it like a whole 1/2 star, 1 star off.
No. I'm not. I am talking relativistically. I'm saying for me.
Well, I don't even know that you've read the content right. So,
well,
I guess that's not what I like. You're moving, yeah. Oh, relativistic angle.
Oh, now
what's 3 for you was 4 for me.
No, look, it's a bit...
What if I just don't like superheroes? Then The Dark Knight isn't a good movie. And it's not because I don't appreciate the craft that goes into it. I just don't like superheroes, which isn't me. I do like superheroes. I do like The Dark Knight. But, what if you're just not interested in the topic that a movie's about? It can be a great movie.
So would you be okay with
I agree with that premise.
Okay. You just don't think I have accurately
assessed the topic of that movie.
Well, I have only seen it once to the 9 times that you guys have both seen it.
We have seen it quite a few times. My kids really like that movie.
I've probably seen it 3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have kids, so I haven't. If I did, I assume I would have seen it a lot more.
So with your premise, would you be okay with someone who's not into whatever it is that Citizen Kane is about, agreeing that it's a fantastic movie, but saying it's a 3 for them?
I would. If somebody said, Citizen Kane is a perfect movie, I'm really not interested in black and white movies about newspaper barons. I acknowledge that it's great. Objectively speaking, it's just not for me. That's fine. Or it's not as much for me as it might be for other people.
So it would be okay with you for them to give that movie 3 out of 4 stars?
If the scale was just them expressing their own desire to rewatch it or to assess it for them.
As opposed to what the movie deserves.
Yeah, if I'm going to give... Okay, will this make you happy? Maybe this will solve the problem. If I'm going to say objectively... What does Into the Spider-Verse deserve? 4 out of 4.
Okay.
Completely.
That's all that was bothering me.
No. Okay, so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I'm only saying when I come to it, I don't personally feel. I may be responding wrongly even. It's not for me. That's all. And I think if more people were like me, more people would be smart, but that's okay. You know, people have to grow and change and learn.
Some people can be really smart.
Yeah. But we're not talking. How did we get off on this? All right. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yes.
Not a great movie.
No.
But the key to figuring out this movie in advance.
Yeah, kind of the most
But not
direct.
really worth it in the end.
Yeah.
That was the movie that unlocked almost everything I figured out about the plot
It actually holds up.
of Endgame.
I think Ultron is actually better the second time.
It's better.
It's actually
It holds
a little
up.
bit.
It holds up better in retrospect. I think what had happened is that we were all tired of Joss Whedon,
Right.
and the Russo brothers made us that much more tired of Joss Whedon with Winter Soldier.
Right.
And so it felt stale. But everything that's happened since then, I think there's a lot to be said for a lot of the Joss Whedon-y aspects of Age of Ultron that fell flat on the first viewing.
I wish that they would have given Endgame to Whedon. I think he.
I do
I
too.
think he could have nailed it, and I think still give Infinity War to the Russos, but just have Whedon bat cleanup basically, and he could really do it in a way that they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have felt as epic, but it would have all landed much better.
That's
Well,
the way they've done Star Wars. Give it back to JJ.
yeah, there's a reason they're doing that, and it's smart. It's also too late, but it's smart. We'll do another episode on Star Wars. I'm sure we'll do plenty of episodes on Star Wars. Is there anything else that you guys are just? Our episode's getting pretty long here. Is there anything that you guys are just itching to say about this movie?
No.
That middle
Not
act
itching.
is pretty darn shapeless and lackluster in the action department. Like, there's not a lot of
The
action. in
first
this
two
movie.
acts had a lot of problems structurally, but they were both filled with a lot of good moments. And I think the moments they were counting on the moments to carry you through the acts.
Well, I also
And I
think
think for the most part they did.
these are hangout movies.
Yeah.
You do need to realize that the genre is in fact hangout movie.
Right. So that
It's like a what do you call that when you get back together with your high school friends?
reunion.
Yeah, it's a reunion with all these people that you've grown to love.
Yeah. So
Part of the fun is just
Hulk at the
spending time with them.
restaurant,
Yeah,
like with Ant-Man and ScarJo and Cap, like that's a necessary scene and a great scene. And
He wants to picture.
it was one of my kids' favorite scenes, actually.
yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff where it breaks down for me is really the time travel scenes. Just feel like they could either be, I don't know. It just feels like they could be better somehow. They could either be truncated, so we just get through that.
Well, a
stuff
lot of the
quickly.
drama of those things felt contrived.
Yeah,
And
Even
some of it was as simple as, oh, I've got a great idea. We want Tony to go and see his dad and Cap to go back and see Peggy.
right.
Well, how do we get there? Well, we have to contrive a way where it actually makes sense. So let's put them in a place. Let's contrive a bunch of drama. Let's try to make it funny. And then
Yeah, which the great template, which they mocked, is Back to the Future for that kind of stuff, or specifically Back to the Future 2 is the template for everything's convoluted and there's twist on top of twist, and this person went back to this time, and that's the movie that you got to watch. But they didn't really felt like that's what they were going for. Oh no, Loki's got the thing. Oh, now it's even more complicated. But for whatever reason, it didn't really land.
Nope.
Back to the Future 2 sucked.
I liked that when I was a kid. I haven't seen it since then.
The first one and the third one were the best. As a kid.
The third one kind of sucks as an adult, though.
Probably as an adult, it's inverted, sort of like Indiana Jones.
Yes, true. Well, we'll talk about the Indiana Jones movies one day on this podcast, I'm sure. Brandon, final thoughts? And Avengers Endgame.
Are we giving it like a seal of approval or something?
Yeah, we'll give it the Sanity at the Movies, SATM,
Sam, just Sam.
Yeah, the Sam.
Give it the Sam.
The SAMAE. The Sam A.
I give
the Award
it
of Excellence.
3 out of 5 Sams.
3 out of 5 Sams?
We get the Samoa. Outstanding Sanity at the Movies Outstanding Award.
Okay.
Samoa.
All right.
Yeah, I give it
That's
3 out of 5 Samoas.
Yes. And we get 5 out of 5 Racial Understanding Awards.
Yeah, I guess you can have those.
Thank you.
Sure.
You get 3 out of 5 Samoas?
Yeah, 3 out of 5 Samoas. I thought it was fine, but the problems were pretty significant for me. So, especially the way they ended Cap. So, For me, that takes...
We didn't even talk about all the ways they could have fixed that.
Yeah, there are lots of ways they could have fixed it. Jake has great ways, or you and Jake have good ways.
Oh, we should say this really quick. So here's the way you fix it, folks.
First of all, there are lots of ways to do it differently that work. But if you don't want to change much of anything...
You still want to get the same basic result, but not make Cap into a selfish jerk? Here's what you do. All right, Cap, we're sending you back. Where's Cap? I messed with the controls.
Or, you know what? Somebody better go back with Cap to help make sure all these stones go in the right place. I think it should be Bucky.
All right, guys, I'm Bucky. I'm the most vanilla character in the MCU. All right.
I can't take Cap's shield, not because it needs to be given to the black guy for progressive reasons, but because I am the most terrible casting decision that the MCU has ever made.
Yep, and I have a dumb haircut. All right, I'm getting on the thing with you, Cap.
Okay, now we're going back and we're putting all the stones back in place.
Hooray!
Wait, let me see that dial that you have there. Oh no, now we're in the 1940s.
Well, Bucky, as Captain America, I really think you should take us back.
We have to go back now. No, we don't. Now we're going to fight, and I'm going to bust up your thing.
Cap,
you deserve this.
it's time to go home.
The war is over, Cap.
No!
Bucky, no! And Cap looks up, and he's in front of Peggy Carter's house.
Right, and he knocks on the door, and she opens it up, and she's like, well, maybe she just opens it, and we just stay on her face if we want to be artistic, but we don't. Let's face it, we think the audience is stupid,
and we need to see that stupid dance.
Right.
And we need that stupid line.
No.
So they're going to dance.
No, they're not going to dance because we're doing this idea, so we're smarter. What we're doing is he's just going to say, Peggy.
Peter Jackson, they're going to dance.
No, Peter Jackson's an idiot.
Peter Jackson's going to dance?
Yeah.
Peter
Jackson,
Peggy.
Big fat. Peter Jackson should be called Larjo.
I've been Hydra all along, and then he shoots her.
Hail Hydra.
Over.
Yeah, Hail Hydra. No, he just says...
That was a good joke, by the way.
That was a good joke. No, he just says, I'm home. That would be a great tearjerker of a last line. And and they hug, and the music swells. Or they don't even hug. I'm home. I could make myself crying just imagining it. That's how they do that. And then he says, one day by the way, I kissed your niece.
That's problematic. But hey, she's not going to exist now because I'm the one having your babies.
Yeah, but...
Nieces aren't affected by the babies that you have.
Yeah, you can't go...
They could be. You don't know.
Yeah. We're going to make sure that your sister doesn't get together with that one dude. And also, we can affect the timeline now. Great makeup on old Cap. I'm going to give this movie... So this is interesting. Jake, did you give it a star, a Samoa rating?
No.
Go ahead.
I'm giving it 4 out of 5.
You know, I don't know what I want to give it. There's part of me that wants to say it's almost like on a relative scale. Like if we want to take my Spider-Verse thing, it actually works better. Like I'm so invested in these characters and this stuff that it all basically works. But in terms of the craftsmanship and like, is this actually any good? It might really just be like a 2 out of 5 or something like that. But in terms of emotion and involvement and basically paying off those things, it feels like a 4 out of 5. So I'm going to split the difference and call it a 3 out of 5.
Yes, I win.
I just don't think
4 out of 5 seems a little high for how clunky so much of this movie is.
Well, I'm going to take it just in terms of I'm taking it. I didn't get a chance to justify it, so I'm going to justify it.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm taking it in context as a consummate film. They gave a lot of great character moments throughout the whole 3 hours. When you think about a lot of the plot movement stuff as a storyteller, like they had so much to do. And there's a lot that I sort of, on the one hand, the time, the resources that they had, they really should have just made a great movie. On the other hand, they had so much they were trying to do. And they gave a lot of great moments and a lot of great emotional payoffs despite a lot of really dumb, idiotic decisions.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Maybe it's just my inner sentiment. Some of it is like things we didn't talk about, like Nebula was awesome. I
thought he was a Build-A-Bear. Tony got to insult the raccoon. That was nice.
Oh, man, yeah. And what else he called him? Ratchet,
yeah.
Ratchet and Clank.
Finding Thanos and cutting off his head in like the first 10 minutes was fun.
Yeah. I I thought Natasha's death was good, and not care what anybody
I
says.
didn't care for that at all. I thought that was lame and unemotional.
And by anybody, I mean you, because you're the only person that didn't care about it.
Yeah,
No.
you heartless.
I am
Grinch.
heartless.
But I don't know. I thought, Hulk was good.
Yeah, but any movie that retroactively makes me never want to go back and watch the old Captain America movies does not deserve 4 out of 5.
Okay, if that's the standard, then I give it 0 out of 5 stars, because that is true. I don't want to go back and watch any of the Cap movies. I don't care. It will only make me angry. If it does anything, it will make me angry to watch those old Cap movies. They stole that from me. They stole that from me and my kids. And
so can you maybe steal a Samoa point from them then? Can we get this knocked down to a 3 out of 5?
a consistent 3, absolutely. I mean, it's not hard to talk me.
Give it a 5 out of 5 for Tony. Give it a 5 out of 5 for the comedy, but then I think balance that out against the 0 out of 5.
I think Cap, Thor, and the women, it's just so bad, but I can't forgive them for taking Cap away from me and my kids. And what are my boys supposed to do going forward? Looking at this stuff, like,
your boys are supposed to be
Thankful for women.
yeah. No, your boys are supposed to be, I can't think of a good word, so I'm going to use a lame internet word. Your boys are supposed to be betas, Jake.
Yeah.
Because that's what their heroes are. That's what Chris Pratt is. And it's funny. It's fun and it's funny.
We didn't talk about what they did to Chris Pratt in Infinity War, which was fine so long as we had that's great. Like, okay, Chris Pratt in the Guardians movies, pretty good hero, actually.
Right.
But when you pull him in and you have to stand him up next to Thor, Cap, and Tony, it was a nice move to subvert him and make him impotent in some ways for the purposes of Infinity War. But then they just did it to everybody else. That's unforgivable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, these movies
So 0 out of 5.
I just think they don't have any concept of discipline or of atonement or anything like that. I mean, to use some big Christian-y words, but like, let's just see the scene where everybody's mad at Chris Pratt because
he blew it.
He couldn't wait 2 seconds to kill Thanos. Instead, he had to hit him with the butt of his gun, and he ruined everybody's lives for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just be thankful that he didn't destroy half the universe with that dumb, and those kinds of scenes actually resonate with kids and resonate with me. We've all been there. Like, we made a mistake. If you can actually play it that way, if you can actually give us the, you really messed up scene.
James Gunn will do it.
James Gunn's a great filmmaker. He's also a perverse dude, but I'm sure we can talk about that when Guardians 3 comes out.
They'll make a point of it. He'll make a point of it.
James Gunn's really smart.
You think he will?
Yeah, I think he will. I think that he might make a running joke of it, but he won't fail to acknowledge it. You don't come back. You don't bring the Guardians back. Like, you don't come back from something like that.
So do you trust him to give some sort of resolution to Thor's arc?
I don't know what they're going to do with Thor. I don't know.
I think the
last I had seen, Hemsworth had said that he would be happy to come back for another Thor movie if Taika Waititi was on it, which doesn't mean that he's cast in Guardians 3, although they set it up that way. I think there's perfectly good reason to think, because we've got Loki back in our timeline now. Like, the Guardians can go out, and between Pratt trying to find Gamora and Thor trying to find or deal with Loki, like, all kinds of cool, fun, hilarious comedy to be had out there. But I don't know.
Yeah.
The Guardians movies are smart. We can talk, but they're also kind of, I have mixed feelings about them, but we can talk about that some other time.
They're also the ones that I am least likely to show to any of my kids.
Yes.
Yeah. But as an adult and not a kid, I think they are far and away maybe some of the only movies that aren't hangout movies, but are actually like movies with like a plot and characters and like things that happen that make sense and are well thought through.
And Drax.
Humor that's like, and not just like quips,
creative,
but creative and world build, like not world building.
Although
in the
Guardians 2, the humor went.
Yeah, the humor kind of sucks in Guardians 2, but visual design, color, special effects used by somebody with some creativity and some vision.
Yeah.
Like, those movies are really...
They are good.
They are good.
I don't know, I keep mentioning Drax, but he's probably one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, no, Drax is hilarious.
Yeah. He wasn't hilarious in Guardians 2.
No, but
they got him back
hilarious in Infinity War.
Yeah.
He was one of the best parts.
Yeah.
I'll do you one better. Why?
But yeah.
Yes.
Yandu, that was improv line.
Was that really?
Yeah. there's a lot to hate about Guardians 2 or to find distasteful, but the whole arc with Yondu and the father stuff was actually really great.
Yep.
And at one of the most emotional, straight up emotional moments in the whole MCU.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
That's a great line.
And he has that awesome scene where he kills everybody with his whistle.
I've got some mixed feelings about that scene.
You don't like that scene?
Well, sitting in a room or sitting in a theater full of 10-year-olds
Well, okay.
watching all this murder happen, felt...
It's very choreographed, though.
Yeah, no, it's well done.
It's
In the same sense that a Quentin Tarantino scene is well done. I just don't know that either one should be watched by 10-year-olds. I don't know.
Well, I agree with that, yeah.
But
I'm not sure that Guardian movies should be watched by 10-year-olds.
yeah, no, I agree with that.
Well, fine, Nathan. We agree with one another. We're all in agreement. 3 stars. 3 BSOAs or whatever they are.
Well, guys, we've officially gone longer than the movie, maybe?
3 hours, really?
No, we haven't actually gone longer than the movie. We've gone longer than many movies. Sanity Movies was produced by Nathan, executive produced by Jake and Nathan. We want to thank our good bookening friend Brandon for stopping by. Thank you, Brandon.
Anytime, Nathan.
Oh, you'll be back many times, my friend, to talk
Nice.
about more stuff. We'll be
is
back in
an
another... What's that?
There's some sort of bug moving across the floor very slowly.
Let's do that. We'll be back in another couple of weeks, or we'll be back the week after next with another great episode. And until next time...
I am Iron Man.
And I am inevitable.